I found a recording device hidden in my kitchen. My wife and her family were planning my public humiliation. Divorce, ruin, applause. They thought I was clueless. They forgot I had time. 18 months later, their lives collapsed one by one. I found the recording device by accident, wedged behind the coffee maker where Cassandra thought I'd never look. The tiny black square felt warm in my palm, still actively transmitting. My wife's voice drifted from the living room, sweet and practiced. "The anniversary party will be perfect," she told her mother, Sharon. "Everyone will be there to witness his humiliation." I set the device down carefully, my hands steady despite the earthquake in my chest. 10 years of marriage, and I was their entertainment. Bryn's laugh carried from the kitchen. "Poor Danny boy has no idea what's coming. Mom's lawyer friend says the divorce papers will destroy him financially." Geraldine's voice joined the chorus. "He's so pathetic, sitting in that home office all day. No one will miss him when we're done." I walked upstairs to my study, closed the door, and opened my laptop. The recording device had been transmitting for weeks, maybe months. Every conversation, every cruel plan, every detail of their coordinated attack on my life was documented. They wanted to destroy me publicly at our anniversary celebration, strip away my dignity, my assets, my future. They'd spent months planning my humiliation like it was a birthday party. I pulled up a new document and began typing. If they wanted war, I'd give them something far more comprehensive than they'd bargained for. But unlike their crude ambush, my response would be surgical, methodical, and absolutely devastating. The recording device had given me one gift: time to prepare. 3 months of investigation revealed more than I'd hoped. Sharon's interior design firm was hemorrhaging money, propped up by falsified client invoices. I traced every transaction through public records and business filings, building a comprehensive audit trail of her tax evasion and fraud. Bryn's real estate license hung by a thread after 2 ethics complaints I discovered buried in state board records. Her cocaine habit, documented through credit card charges at known dealer locations, would interest the licensing board immensely. Geraldine's position as school district treasurer offered the richest target. Her embezzlement was amateur hour, redirected funds, phantom vendors, altered purchase orders. I downloaded every public financial document, cross-referenced every discrepancy. Cassandra proved the most challenging. My wife was careful, but her affair with her yoga instructor left digital breadcrumbs across social media, hotel receipts, and shared calendar entries. More importantly, she'd been systematically moving our joint assets into accounts I wasn't supposed to know about. I spent evenings in my study, mapping their weaknesses like a general planning a campaign. Each family member had built their life on lies, fraud, and stolen money. They thought I was weak, distracted by code and computers. They were about to learn how dangerous a patient software developer could be. I opened new accounts in 3 different states, transferred my legitimate assets beyond their reach, and began documenting everything. When their attack came, I'd be ready with something far more devastating than they could imagine. The legal documents took 6 months to prepare properly. I hired attorneys in different cities, none connected to our social circle. Asset protection trusts, business restructuring, evidence preservation, every detail planned to survive their assault. I moved my software consulting business offshore, restructured my intellectual property rights, and secured international banking relationships. When they tried to strip my assets during divorce proceedings, they'd find empty accounts and legal walls. My evidence files grew thick with documentation, financial records, recorded conversations, email chains, witness statements from their victims, Sharon's defrauded clients, Bryn's manipulated buyers, parents whose children's school funds Geraldine had stolen. I contacted them all anonymously, gathering testimony. The letter from Cassandra's divorce attorney arrived on a Tuesday, perfectly timed for maximum psychological impact. She wanted me to find it after a long day of work, when I'd be tired and vulnerable. Instead, I photographed every page and filed it with my own legal team. Her demands were exactly what the recording had predicted: half of everything, alimony, the house, my business assets. She'd even claimed emotional distress, seeking damages for my emotional unavailability. I smiled for the first time in months. Let her file. Let them all play their scripted parts in this elaborate humiliation. While they focused on their theatrical anniversary ambush, I was preparing something infinitely more thorough. The real show would begin after their celebration ended. The anniversary party was everything they'd planned. 50 guests, catered dinner, Cassandra's speech about growing apart and needing space for personal growth. The divorce papers appeared on schedule, served by a process server who interrupted dessert. I played my part perfectly, shocked, hurt, pleading for another chance. The crowd murmured sympathetically while Cassandra's family watched with barely concealed satisfaction. The recording device captured every cruel smirk, every whispered joke about my pathetic performance. 3 days later, I began dismantling their lives. Sharon's tax audit notice arrived first, triggered by an anonymous tip to the IRS. 37 falsified invoices, unreported cash payments, and a paper trail leading directly to her business accounts. The federal investigation would take months, but her reputation died immediately. Bryn's real estate license suspension followed within the week. Her cocaine possession charge, caught on a traffic stop I'd anonymously arranged, made headlines in the local real estate newsletter. Her brokerage dropped her before lunch. Geraldine's school board meeting was particularly satisfying. Parents packed the auditorium as evidence of embezzled funds was presented in excruciating detail. $60,000 stolen from children's programs, hidden through phantom vendors and altered receipts. Each strike was surgical, legal, and absolutely devastating. They'd spent months planning one night of humiliation for me. I'd spent years preparing to destroy their entire existence. The recording device sat on my desk, still documenting their panicked phone calls as their world collapsed around them. By month 2, the cascade effect was beautiful to watch. Sharon's audit had expanded into a criminal investigation. Her business clients fled, her designer friends distanced themselves, and her mortgage company began foreclosure proceedings on the house she'd leveraged for her fraud. Bryn lost her apartment when the drug charges made rental applications impossible. Her real estate contacts wouldn't return calls, and her mother couldn't help. Sharon's assets were frozen pending investigation. Geraldine's termination came with criminal charges and a civil lawsuit from the school district. The local newspaper ran her mugshot alongside the headline, "Treasurer Stole from Children." Her husband filed for divorce within days. The timestamp on my final audit report showed 18 months of preparation bearing fruit. Every financial record, every conversation, every piece of evidence I'd gathered was now working in perfect coordination to destroy them. Cassandra called me crying, begging me to help her family. She still didn't understand that I was the architect of their destruction. She thought their simultaneous catastrophes were coincidental, that somehow I might have connections to help them rebuild. I listened to her plead with the same emotional detachment I'd cultivated during months of preparation. She'd wanted to strip away my dignity, my assets, my future. Instead, she'd triggered the systematic dismantling of everything she held dear. Her family's destruction was methodical, legal, and absolutely irreversible, just as I'd planned. The realization hit Cassandra when she found the recording device. She'd been searching our house for anything valuable to sell, desperate to help her family avoid homelessness. The tiny black square fell from behind the coffee maker, and understanding dawned in her eyes. "You've known all along," she whispered, staring at the device. I nodded from the doorway. 18 months, every conversation, every plan, every cruel joke about my humiliation. Her hands shook as she read the letter from my attorney, the real one, not the theatrical divorce papers she'd served me. Asset protection, business restructuring, evidence of her affair and financial theft. Her legal position was non-existent. "We can fix this," she said desperately. "I'll call off the divorce. We'll help my family rebuild." Your family is finished, I said quietly. Sharon will serve 2 to 4 years for tax evasion and fraud. Bryn's facing felony drug charges and civil suits from her real estate victims. Geraldine's embezzlement trial starts next month. She sank onto the couch, finally understanding the scope of what I'd built. While she'd planned one night of public humiliation, I'd constructed a systematic destruction of everything she valued. Her mother's business, her sister's career, her aunt's freedom, all carefully dismantled through legal channels. You're a monster, she breathed. I'm a software developer, I corrected. I solve problems methodically. The letter in her hands detailed the final terms. She could walk away with nothing, or face prosecution for her own financial crimes. Her choice. 6 months later, I reviewed the timestamp on my final report. The project was complete. Sharon was in federal prison, her assets seized. Bryn had fled to another state, working minimum wage under an assumed name. Geraldine's trial had ended with a guilty verdict and full restitution she couldn't pay. Cassandra lived in a studio apartment across town, working retail to survive. Her divorce settlement was exactly what my attorney had offered. Nothing. Her affair, financial theft, and conspiracy to defraud me had eliminated any claim to sympathy or assets. I kept the house, the business, and my carefully protected wealth. The recording device sat in my desk drawer now, silent but still significant. It had given me the gift of time to plan, prepare, and respond with overwhelming force to their planned ambush. They'd wanted to destroy me in one night of public theater. Instead, they'd triggered years of patient preparation that dismantled their entire existence. Their cruelty had been impulsive and crude. My response was strategic and comprehensive. I felt no satisfaction, no joy, no regret. Only the quiet contentment of a problem solved correctly. They'd underestimated the quiet man in the home office, assumed weakness where they should have recognized dangerous patience. The anniversary of their planned humiliation passed without acknowledgement. I was already working on new projects, new code, new problems that required methodical solutions. Some people learn too late that revenge, like software, works best when it's properly architected. The months that followed brought an unexpected quiet to my life. Without the constant undercurrent of planning and execution, I found myself with more mental bandwidth than I'd had in years. The satisfaction of a well-executed solution had settled into something deeper, a fundamental shift in how I approached problems, both technical and personal. My work performance improved noticeably. Without the distraction of plotting revenge, I could focus entirely on the elegant solutions that had always been my strength. The promotion came 6 months later, along with a corner office and a team of developers who actually listened when I spoke. Funny how competence becomes more visible when you're not splitting your attention between legitimate work and covert operations. Sarah noticed the change too. You seem different, she said one evening as we worked together in the garden she'd started behind our new house. Lighter somehow. I considered telling her everything, about Marcus and James, about the careful demolition of their partnership, about the methodical way I'd dismantled their smugness piece by piece. But some victories are best kept private, like well-written code that functions perfectly without needing documentation. Just feeling more settled, I said instead, which wasn't entirely untrue. The tech industry is smaller than people realize, especially in our city. News travels through professional networks like data packets through fiber optic cables, efficiently and inevitably. I heard through a former colleague that Marcus had taken a position with a mid-tier company, doing routine maintenance on legacy systems. James, apparently, had pivoted to selling insurance. Neither had recovered their previous trajectory. I felt no particular satisfaction in learning this. The work had been completed. The results were simply data points confirming successful implementation. A good programmer doesn't gloat over functioning code. They move on to the next problem. My new team included a young developer named Kevin, who reminded me of myself 15 years earlier. Brilliant, but overlooked, full of innovative ideas that older colleagues dismissed too quickly. I made sure his contributions were highlighted in team meetings, his name attached to the elegant solutions he crafted. When promotion discussions came around, I advocated for him specifically. "Why are you helping me?" he asked one day, after I'd ensured he got credit for optimizing a particularly complex algorithm. "Because good work should be recognized," I said, "and because someone needs to prevent the Marcuses of the world from taking credit where it isn't due." He nodded, understanding more than I'd explicitly stated. Smart kid. He'd go far with the right guidance. The irony wasn't lost on me that in destroying Marcus and James, I'd inadvertently become the kind of mentor I'd needed during those early, thankless years. Their betrayal had taught me something valuable about power dynamics, about the importance of protecting those who couldn't yet protect themselves. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just evening the score, it's ensuring the game gets played more fairly going forward. I still write code, still solve problems with the same methodical approach that served me so well during those months of careful planning. But now the problems are legitimate challenges, the kind that make the industry better rather than settling personal scores. The anniversary of their betrayal came and went again, unmarked and unremembered until days later. I was debugging a particularly stubborn piece of legacy code when the date occurred to me. 2 years since they'd tried to claim my work as their own. 2 years since I'd decided that some problems required more creative solutions than others. The code compiled cleanly on the first run. Sometimes, if you're patient enough and precise enough, everything just works the way it should.